Hello, friends. Today we will look at the real case of how the girl was returned. That is, how we did it in practice, how long it took, what we did for it, and so on. The case is the most common. For 3 years of the relationship, the man was in a strong position, but suddenly, that very click happened. As a result of what happened, I will not go into details about this now, but there are many factors that have an impact. That is, sometimes it is the wrong behavior of a man during conflict situations. This is the wrong way to build relationships in general. Or, the most common problem that I felt when I started to directly contact people and engage in practical activities. The root of this problem is how a man positions himself in the process of relationships. You've probably noticed this trend, that there's a very revealing situation here when an ordinary girl meets a Caucasian man. And she's very accommodating, compliant, and understanding with him. What is the reason for this? Does a Caucasian man know how to manipulate? Of course not. The root is that he has a clear idea of what a girl should do and what she shouldn't do. There is a principle, and the girl adapts to it. That is, sometimes she even understands by one look, by some reaction, that I can't do this to him. He won't understand me. She's starting to adjust to him. And most men treat a woman in such a way, as if they should get something, some kind of prize. And when I start to figure it out during the consultation, this is already the status of marriage. That is, people are already living together. They have children, actually. And what does a woman give him? Does she give him some kind of access to her body sometimes? Well, that's great. But if you calculate the financial costs, then a man could collect a whole harem every day. She doesn't give him anything. Well, nevertheless, he's trying to put up with her somewhere. He's doing something for her, right? Although we have to create the opposite situation. That is, we should strive for this girl to live by our lives, but not for us to live by this girl's life. Okay, let's get back to the heart of this problem. After this very click occurs, misunderstandings arise. Conflicts occur more often, and some claims appear. That is, the man begins to feel that the girl's behavior has changed. Something has happened. Something is wrong. And, of course, then the man tries to figure it out, to ask directly, "Dear, what's going on? You seem a bit out of sorts." Counting on that the girl to tell the truth. But what will happen in practice? In practice, a girl will explain this by any life circumstances. That she is currently at a difficult stage in her life. That she has some difficulties at work. Or that you are to blame for this. 6 months ago, you didn't throw out the trash. You didn't bring it to the trash, and that's why she's not in the mood. And the man perceives these explanations as the truth. And the saddest thing is, the man starts trying to set her up again, to please her again. The man is trying to fix something again, so to speak, to smooth out the corners. And, of course, this will lead to a further aggravation of his position. Well, what will happen next? Further, the girl, by virtue of certain precedents, begins to take a strong position in the relationship. Friends, this is the end. That is, if a girl has started to take a strong position in a relationship, then it's only a matter of time before the breakup takes place. Either she goes nowhere, or she goes to another man. By the way, as it was in our case. Because a few weeks later, a man, looking for an answer to what happened, gets into the girl's phone, and he discovers there her correspondence with a colleague at work. And in this correspondence, there was such a flirtation, let's say. And what does a man do? The man makes a scandal, and it was unacceptable to do that. Why? Because it's more like an insult, like a tantrum, and it won't bring any good result. After this conflict arose, after discussion, for a girl, as they say, the best defense is an attack. Therefore, after such momentary excuses, the girl begins to say, "But why are you limiting me?" Or, "Why did you take my phone? I told you that we should break up." And as a result, this conflict will be temporarily closed. The next day, she leaves for work, but the question of parting has already been raised. After that, we hold a consultation. And what action plan have we chosen? The next day, The man buys a gorgeous bouquet of flowers and some small souvenir. Friends, yes, you heard it right. He comes to the girl's work and presents all of this to her. And, of course, she merges us. But we've been waiting for this. And why did we do it? Because it was important for us to sow in her, so to speak, a seed of guilt that will continue to germinate in the future. By the way, there are a lot of appeals from men who did some crazy things for a girl at the end of a relationship. Gifts, flowers, visits to her. And sometimes this plays into our hands, because the contrast, so to speak, in her behavior is very, very significant, which knocks the ground out from under the girl's feet. After that, we return home, and the girl's things, by the way, have already been packed. There were already a couple of suitcases there. And when she comes back in the evening, we open the door, we put her suitcases out the door, and we close the door. For 20 minutes, she has been calling us at home, on a landline phone, on a mobile phone. We don't react to this in any way, that is, we totally ignore her. It ends with messages in which the girl says, "That's it. It's over. After this, we'll never see each other again." And what does she want to achieve? She wants to take us on a show-off. Yes, she's sure. She is sure that the man will give up now. He will get scared. He will write to her, or he will react somehow and let her into the house. Of course, at any case, we should never do this. What happens next? Then, as a rule, a man has these fears that this is the end. She decided to leave. I treated her so badly. She will never come back to me. Now she will forget me. She will go to this colleague. They will live happily. Maybe. I should have been patient. That is, this is what most men do when the problem has already arisen. And sometimes it's a few months, right? He tolerates. He tries to beat something. Somewhere he tries to negotiate with her. Somewhere he adapts to the logic of the woman. Although they have absolutely no logic. Well, let's say their logic is very peculiar. And these concerns are actually extremely unfounded. Why? If we are talking about the likelihood of her leaving for a colleague with whom she already has friendly communication, the fact is that if a girl does not occupy a uniquely weak position in a relationship, then she is already capable of feeling sympathy for another man. She's already capable. Why? Because she is already in search of a man from whom she will feel his inner core when he passes certain of her checks, when she looks at him from bottom to top, because it is vital for a woman. And what is the peculiarity of female infidelity? The peculiarity is that a woman's betrayal proceeds through rejection from a man, from her man, and only after that, she begins the process of idealizing a new beau. And what happens next? Of course, we don't get in touch with the girl in any way, because we understand that the girl has burned all the bridges with us now. And we even helped her in this. As they say, we added oil to the fire. And now, she is more than in a vulnerable position in front of this new man. That is, there is also the same balance of importance in their relationship. And now, with a high degree of probability, it is she who remains in this weak position. Because now she will be looking for some kind of response from him, some kind of support. And, as a rule, men in relationships give girls some resources. That is, it can be a financial resource, or it can be an emotional resource. Now she doesn't have that. And she's a fool. She thinks that this man is going to give it to her now. But that's not going to happen. Why? We found out that this man from her job has a wife. And it doesn't take much deduction to figure out that this is probably not the first girl he's had an affair with. And to this day, he has not left his wife. And in this situation, he won't walk away from her either. He just doesn't have any prerequisites for that. He already has everything he wants to have, in fact. That is, he has access, so to speak, to her body. And what will happen in the future? In the future, she will move towards closer relations with him. She will put pressure on him. he will have a feeling of being burdened. The importance of this girl will definitely decrease for him. Also, if they even have such a short-term relationship, then all the negativity in their relationship will accumulate and capitalize. This is a property of any person. We never appreciate what we have, right? Our expectations are always much better and more colorful than the reality when we already face it. But how does it work? I'll give you an example. Let's say it's a vacation. When we plan it in advance, it seems to us that it will be the best trip of our lives. When we are already on vacation, everything seems to be fine. Of course, it didn't work out as we wanted, but everything seems to be fine. Something worked out, something didn't work out. And what happens after 1 or 2 months have passed? We have already returned home. We are starting to remember and think, yes, after all, it was a good trip. It's the same here. So now the girl has very many of expectations. When she's already kind of getting what she wants, nothing restricts her anymore. She doesn't have to hide. She can be with him, and everything doesn't turn out exactly the way she wanted it to. But, let's say, she begins to idealize the memories of her ex-boyfriend a little. The negativity starts to go away. Her brain focuses on his advantages, on his qualities, let's say, and this also adds certain such dividends to our piggy bank. As a result, after a couple of weeks, the girl writes us a message saying that she wants to pick up the winter tires. I immediately warned the man that he needed to get rid of all the reasons for the girl to get in touch so that she could not contact us. But the man just forgot about it. What are we doing in this case? In this case, we decided to take the tires to the girl's mom. Naturally, we do this without warning, without a call, in order to avoid a chance encounter in quotation marks. When we did that, the girl started making new accusations. Why did you do that? Why didn't you warn me? Why are you acting like this? For old time's sake, she perceives us as such an inferior being, as her subordinate, but she did it in vain. And I always repeat the golden rule. In a love triangle, the one who gets out of it first, those wins. I have already stated the reasons earlier, and now all these comparisons will come. But my ex-boyfriend might not have done like that. He would have done it differently. That is, her brain will focus on this. Friends, we very rarely meet people with whom we can really be spiritually close, let's say. And I also want to tell you that you should get rid of the fear that she will forget about you. Friends, if you've had a full-fledged relationship with a girl for at least a few months, believe me, she'll never forget you in her life. All that is required of us is to create the necessary prerequisites for this. We need to kind of push her to do that. Because how would an ordinary man behave in this situation? He would try to somehow maintain some kind of connection with her. There are many recommendations on YouTube. You should supposedly be friends with the girl, and gradually you will be able to somehow establish contact with her. After that, you can somehow win her over. Show her some changes in yourself. Friends, well, that's not how it works. It really doesn't work. After all, we strive for a change of role positions. In this case, what do we expect in principle? We expect their relationship to resume, which has been leaking, and the girl will definitely to appear. You can be absolutely sure of that. So let's say, her return will inevitably happen, and we just need to get away from it. Now, do you understand why that bouquet was needed? In other words, we actually shifted all the responsibility for breaking off this relationship onto the girl. It's gnawing at her, and a bouquet is like an additional feeling of guilt. After all, the man tried to change everything, but it happened differently. And also, when we act in this way, and when we completely limit contact, the girl forms the same incomplete gestalt that many of you have when the girl leaves you. We, in turn, are already forming it for her. Friends, I want to make an emphasis. If we use ignoring of her, then ignoring only works. If it is total, How long did it take for the girl to return? You might be interested in this. The girl returned 2 months later. At this stage, it is very important for you to distinguish a temporary emotional outburst from a real, true, sincere desire for reconciliation. Why? What's the difference? There are situations, for example, when this man from her job just dumped her, but she loves him. And she just needs to cry into your vest, right? And if you get in touch with her at this stage, then the relationship may resume for a while, but then everything will go downhill again. She should regret 1,000 times that she left you. Therefore, we also do not respond to her first calls. You also don't respond to any of her text messages, saying I'm sorry, or she misses you. We need to look at the trend in her actions. In our case, it turned out that on the first day there were calls and text messages from her. And the next day the girl came home to the man. A man starts texting me, Alex, what should I do? I have a car in the yard. She saw it. The light is on at my house. She saw it anyway. She knows that I'm home. Should I open the door or not? In this case, we have already decided to open the door. Why? Because we shouldn't push a girl away too much. And then the man had already told me everything. That the girl was apologizing. I advised him that you should listen to her. If she apologizes, then calm her down. Give her a piece of candy. Tell her that she's done well, that she's decided to make peace with you. And, in principle, this is kind of the ending. But I told you briefly a story in which there were a lot of different nuances, right? The outward simplicity actually hides understanding, experience, and certain knowledge. And, let's just say, that these 2 months, well, it turned out a little more than 2 months. We didn't sit idly by, friends. If a man sits, waits, crosses out days in the calendar, sits and worries, then nothing will work. Even if we bring the girl back, then in the end, everything will fail. There will be such a cycle. And she will leave again. She will lose interest again. Therefore, as I say in every video, it is important for a man to get a solid foundation. Every day, I receive messages with one question. Alex, what should I do? I receive a sheet with the text. At best, these are written texts, but sometimes voice messages are 20 minutes long. And there's one question. What should I do? As if one action on our part now would solve the problem. But no magic action will help, friends. A full understanding of this issue is required. We form the action plan at the very last stage. Moreover, it is more complex. This situation was very primitive, formulaic. And that's why I didn't mention a lot of nuances. I just showed, as to say, the chronology of events. What priority issues are important to us? There are a lot of them. This is how the balance of importance is built. This is the struggle for dominance in a relationship. These are conflict situations. This is a girl's personal analysis. This is the mechanism of love itself, how we form emotional attachment. And this is many, many, many other things. If at least one of these points falls out for a man, for example, he does not know something. He does everything well. Let's say this is a guy who is even in demand among girls. It may be an attractive man, but he does not know how to behave competently during conflicts. Believe me, there will be a situation when he will definitely lose his importance. Therefore, friends, this separation that we are having, we must use it. We need to use this because relationships are a very important part of our lives. Perhaps a woman, a wife, is one of the closest people to us, with whom we will be united by family and children in the future. Therefore, we still need to treat this area of our own lives with a proper level of responsibility. If we raise the question, is it worth accepting a girl at all if she cheated on us? This is your personal decision, but I don't recommend doing this. Why? Because the relationships that you had before, they will no longer be there. The trust that you had will no longer be there. But if you have a similar problem situation right now, then you shouldn't think about it. Why? Because sometimes, in the process of returning, a man realizes for himself, no, I don't need it. There were situations when, during the consultation, we realized that the girl was completely unsuitable for a relationship. We were closing this story. The man had an understanding that hell awaits him in his later life with this woman. But why does he need it? But he understood it and realized it. Sometimes we bring a girl back, but the man won't take her back, right? That is, he got the desired result, the bottom line, and moved on. It happens when a man resumes a relationship for his own inner peace. To say that I tried to do it, she hasn't changed. There have been some difficulties. And now I've ended my relationship with her on my own initiative. But I can say that there are also positive examples. Of course, this is not related to the girl's betrayal because, so to speak, there is certainly nothing wrong with the girl's return. If it's a nice girl who just lost interest in you because the man behaved incorrectly, why don't you reconnect relationships with her? I want to voice the biggest problem of men in the process of rebuilding relationships, which, frankly, hurts me. I feel hurt when I see it. Do you believe me or not? What is the problem? It lies in the unwillingness to do anything about it. Friends, that is, most men are ready to complain. They are sad. They're disappointed. They can discuss it with friends. They can blame the girl. But they are not ready to really systematically work on the problem. But they need the result. Here and now, already tomorrow. You know, it's like a little kid. I want it here and now. If it doesn't work out, well, then the man is sad. Friends, this is not an approach to solving the problem. You will not achieve the desired result this way. Here we can draw an analogy. As in our country, the standard of living certainly leaves much to be desired. No one disputes this. But one person drinks vodka in the kitchen with a friend and criticizes something at the same time, and someone else takes it and does something for his life. Well, it's the same situation here. Therefore, everything is in your hands now. Everything is in your hands. And I can say that the overall statistics of the girls' returns, I'm voicing it in this video, are 8 girls out of 10. That is 80%. But these were the men who were willing to do anything in order to get the desired result. And, by the way, the very process of getting the girl back took these men to a whole new level. And they got the desired result.